All right, so we're joined from Austin, Texas, by my friends Natasha and Damian Carillo, the host of Black and Brown Make Green podcast, blackandbrownmakegreen.com, and also the founder of Money with Confidence, the new financial planning business out there in Texas. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. Well, I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. It's our personal finance class, and we are recording this for all of our friends at Ridgeland High School, Madison Central High School, Germantown High School, and our YouTube channel. So as always, it is such a treat to have you guys with us today.
Thanks for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to come and talk to you.
Now, but before we get into some of the things you've talked about in your latest episodes, give us a little background, because I know Natasha from a little bitty town, Cedar Lake, and you guys, Damien, you got a background in software, and Natasha, you were a teacher, and now y'all have kind of moved into this area, and it's really cool the transition you guys have had.
We were actually both from very small towns. So Natasha's from East Texas in a very small town. I'm from West Texas in a very small town.
Right.
So, I think that we have a lot in common with the students that are there watching us right now. And, we feel y'all's journey. We know what that journey is like. And, I feel like we're on the other side of it. And I think because of that, we have a lot to share. So hopefully it's of use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so surprised you remember the name of my small town.
Well, I was looking at Money with Confidence a little while ago, and I saw that, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, it's in between Corpus and Houston." So, no, yeah, but you were a teacher, and Damien, you were a software guy, so you guys don't have financial background, so it's really cool. So, tell us, about your backgrounds and how you kind of got on the financial track.
Yeah, so even though I don't have a financial background, my parents were always really open about finances with us. And so we learned a lot growing up about money market accounts and making sure you're having a set budget and saving a certain percentage and all of that. So for me, I had a really good understanding of the basics coming out of high school and going into college because of my mom and my dad. They both were very open with me and my siblings. And I think that's very uncommon for most people. Most people don't talk about money, but for me, that wasn't a thing. We always talked about money. So I've never had that issue that a lot of people talk about with the being afraid to talk about money.
For me, I guess I'll jump into. For me, it's kind of a similar story. My parents were also very open and thorough with the way they described these day-to-day processes. How do I balance a checkbook? How do I pay these bills? What bills am I paying? And meeting Natasha, it was kind of a natural continuation of that process. We were both very open from an early point in our relationship about how we spend money and even how we just approach the problem.
And I will add one last thing. When I was pregnant with my first son, I started reading this baby center forum, and it was the family finances. And so that really got me into wanting to learn more and more and more. And then I got into the Bogleheads forum. And then I read the book about Bogleheads, which is based on Jack Bogle, who is the founder of Vanguard. And so both of us just started reading even more and improving our finances. And that's kind of how we stumbled upon the finance area.
Wow. Now, I think it's really cool. One of your latest episodes was called "Help, I'm Overspending," and I thought you had some great points. And I think and I know you guys gear more toward the adults, the young adults and couples. But what you were talking about really applies to everybody, especially teenagers, because the stuff they see on social media, the stuff they see online, is different than the influences we had growing up. There's a lot of peer pressure to spend money to buy name brand clothes, or to, and the big one now that I heard is FOMO, fear of missing out. People are paying to have all these expensive vacations to put on Instagram just because they think they're going to miss out on it. So that really is a huge problem. And the way that Damien described it, I thought was hilarious, where he was saying, I can't cook. If you just throw you can say this is a plan, but if you just throw it in there without measuring it, it's never going to work. So, and one thing, we had another guest who's actually in Dallas, and she said, just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're rich.
Yeah.
Because if you get rid of all of it on things you don't need, it really was no point in all of it. So, talk more about that overspending, because I think it appeals so much to high school students.
There's the opposite of what you said too. Just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean you're rich. Also, just because you don't make a lot of money doesn't mean that you're poor. Right. So you can make, you have a small salary, and you stay within your spending limits, you control it, right? You control those impulses, you control those urges, and you still end up on top. So it's just, like that balancing game.
Yeah, overspending is it's so easy because there's a whole lot more to spend on nowadays than back when we were growing up.
Mhm.
I mean, back when we were growing up, you could get a Game Boy. Now you can get a Nintendo DS, a PS4 portable, or all these different things. So there's just so much. And then also we're seeing all these things. Like before, I'm from the country, so everybody else, we all had the same stuff, and it wasn't a lot. So now with Instagram, with Facebook, and people being able to see all that other people appear to have, then you think you need that. And it's really not the case that we need those things. And if you just step back and start to think about, is this really making me happy? Am I really using all these things that I'm spending money on? Then the answer is probably no. So
Yeah, nobody shows on social media. They don't post their net worth on Instagram. You never see that. They just post the things they have, the material possessions, and it just factors in. It just consumerism factoring into that. So it's just a matter of like really thinking about what you want and what your value system is, and tackling the problem from that perspective, I think.
Yeah, and again, and look, we were all three of us were all teenagers at some point. I know they don't believe that, but you know, we weren't thinking about. I get it. When you're 17, 18, 16 years old, you're not thinking long term. But especially, we have the kids I have in here right now with me. They all have different plans of what they want to do after high school, whether it's go straight to the workforce to get just learn a trade or go to college. But if you're bringing in money at any point, yeah, I mean, obviously you have to buy things you need, especially if you're going to have a family like you guys do. But if you're not safe, and this is a hard working community, but hard work can only do so much for you. Our grandparents were able to depend on Social Security. Those days are over. It's just it's not going to happen. So I'm not even a financial expert, and I can tell you, and I try to tell these kids I'm blue in the face. Look, if you don't start saving for retirement as soon as you start getting paychecks, you're going to be working till you're 70.
Yeah.
that's so interesting that you said that, because with the little slideshow we made for you guys, there's a slide in there that talks about if you start investing when you're 15, because people get summer jobs, and you invest from 15 to 19, and you only invest $3,000 a year, so $250 a month. And then you stop investing when you're 19 years old, and you just let that money grow until you're 65, you will have invested 15,000. But if that money earns 10% on average, you will have 1.6 million. So like starting early, like you're talking about, it makes a huge difference. If you start later, then you're going to have to invest a whole lot more. But, investing is one of the big things that I wish I would have known more about when I was younger, when I was in high school, so that I wouldn't have been so hesitant to invest once I got that first job.
And think about that. You can go into the workforce and work and work and work and save and still not make that amount. And if you just really apply yourself and push yourself to save, to invest, and to invest smartly, invest intelligently, then the money will work for you. It's like working a second job, but it's doing that. You're putting no effort into it, just making a selection. So it's extremely powerful.
Yeah, and then I know before you have the family and everything, you're looking at the amount, you're looking at what's on that paycheck. But what I've tried to say, and I know you guys will agree, especially if you have a job like I do, where they will match up to a certain amount on your retirement. And I don't know, I don't remember what the max is here, but in the state of Mississippi, but I have what the state of Mississippi matches every month. I don't even miss the money. Because if you go, if it's getting taken out of your paycheck every month, you're not even seeing it. And I'm used to living off the paycheck that I get.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And there's a term for that, right? The opposite of that is called lifestyle creep, where if you did get that money, if you didn't invest it, if you didn't save it, then what would happen is you'd have it coming in, and you'd naturally feel the urge to spend it, right? I could go, out to the movies or do something, right? So once you do start investing it, you don't notice it's gone. That's very common. That's the same for us.
One of the great things for young people now is that you can automatically invest this money. Like even if you weren't working a job that matched, you could open your own brokerage account and automatically invest it at a rate of, weekly or monthly. So like it's easy to make it happen now versus back in the day when you had to call to place your orders to invest in the stock market. So they definitely have that advantage.
Yeah, and then and that's a good point too, because with direct deposits, a lot, for example, how here we can put it into 4 accounts. The paycheck can be split up to 4 ways. So you can put just, I want X amount put in this account every month. And again, you don't even miss the money. So I think that's a technology hack that I think makes it a little bit easier. Now, another thing you guys talked about that I think is really good that applies to teenagers is you said you guys were still going out on dates together, but you were paying for a babysitter, but you weren't getting extravagant. You were still finding ways to have fun. And obviously in Austin, there's a ton to do. And there's a lot more here in Jackson than people realize that they can do. But you found ways to get creative to where, look, we were still having a good time, and we weren't spending $150 on a big fancy meal. So I think a lot of people say, well, I still want to go out and have fun. Well, you can. So talk about how that worked for you guys.
Yeah, that's a big one for us, because when you go out to eat nowadays, you spend $100, and that's just ridiculous. So for us, it was like, okay, well, let's eat at home, and maybe we'll get one appetizer to share when we go out. And we were just talking the other day how we used to split plates when we used to go out to eat. And so that's another hack. Like, you don't both need to order. These plates a lot of times are so big that you could probably share one plate. So that's another way that we have been able to cut back on the spending. And then also, going out doesn't mean you have to go and spend something. Honestly, we have gone to it on a date walking around the mall.
That was like our second date.
I know the mall is not much of a hangout now, I guess, for kids, but back when I was a teenager, that's what people did. And as an adult, that's what we've done too. So, just going hiking, going for walks. I think it's most important that you're spending time with people versus spending money when you're out with those people.
One of the things that we really value is to provide a space that we can talk. And if that's over a meal, then so be it, right? If it's bowling, then so be it. If it's hiking, which is free, then we'll do that. And really the thing that we want is just to connect and to be intentional about it. So we try to tailor the experience to be able to get the characteristics out that we want, out of the experience.
Yeah, and you made a good point on the episode too about that, because you said, because Natasha was like, look, we had our kids, and I was starting this new business, and Damian, you made the point, well, look, you don't need to give up on your dreams. We still need to make this happen. And you guys made a financial decision to where your kids are still taken care of, and you were still able to do what you were doing business-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before I get to the students' questions, I think it's so important. I always ask y'all about this, because obviously, and we touched on this a little bit, when you're in high school, you're all you care about is the parties and when can I get the heck out of home. And, I'm never going to, I don't need to worry about retirement. I'm just trying to make a bunch of money and be cool. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think, kids always say, well, this stuff's stupid. It doesn't apply to me. Damian, last time, hold on, I got to get some water. This is killing me. Hold on. Damian, last time you said, whether or not you're a financial expert or not, because everybody's not going to be a financial podcaster, you said this is the most important thing you're ever going to need to know if you're ever going to even think about having a family. Because you guys have 2 kids, how expensive kids are. Gas prices are not going down. You're going to have to find a way to at least be familiar with these terms and these ideas if you ever plan on living this life living this life you want. And it's like Natasha said, and I've heard several people say this, you either have to cut back on what you're spending or find ways to bring more money in.
Yeah, Natasha says that all the time, actually.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, they just want everything. And it's like, you can have a lot of things, but you can't necessarily have everything. And you have to have some type of balance of, these are the things that are most important. I'm going to keep these in, but I'm okay with cutting back on some of this other stuff.
Yeah, and I forgot one more thing. I want to talk about this too. Tell us about Money with Confidence, because you just started your own business, and I know we have at least one in here with us right now that wants to be an entrepreneur. And and I always and I know they get sick of me saying this, but I used to joke all the time, I'm a huge fan of Jasmine Sullivan, but her song where she just talks about, I'm going to move to Atlanta, start my own business and be rich, it doesn't work like that. Even if you are very skilled at what you do, and you are, business sense and financial sense really are not the same. And one of my favorites is, we have a guest of this class sometimes that's a doctor here in Jackson, And she said, I went to medical school. I learned how to take care of patients. I know everything there was to know about medicine. I knew nothing about running a business. And she said she struggled her first few months. So tell us about that for anybody that wants to be an entrepreneur, because I think it's attractive on the outside because you're like, yeah, I'm hashtag boss babe, hashtag black girl boss and all that, and all that's cool. But, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that isn't as glamorous that has to be done.
Yeah, it is not easy being your own business owner because you are doing everything. You're not just doing what you're skilled at. So like for me, I'm doing financial coaching, or for a doctor, she's working with her patients, but you're also doing the marketing. So you have to bring people in who actually want to work with you. You are making the website, you are managing your books and making sure that you're not spending too much on software and other things that your business needs so that you can actually pay yourself. And don't forget about taxes. Because when you're an employee, that's all factored into your check already. So you don't have to worry about that. But as a business owner, you have to figure out how much do I need to save each month in order to put towards these taxes that are due on a quarterly basis. And so, I think a lot of people like to glamorize entrepreneurship. I think entrepreneurship is absolutely great, but it's not easy. Okay. It's not easy. It's definitely a journey. And as it has been for me, like luckily I've had a financial base that I can rely on. But, if I was single trying to do this business, I'd have to still have a full-time job or at least a part-time job to pay for things until the business makes enough money to fully pay for everything else. So, going into entrepreneurship, you definitely want to research what you need in order to pay for yourself, to see is it viable to even do this business, and then to see how can you get to being full-time entrepreneur versus working at where someone else is paying you.
Let me add to that real quick. There's a saying where as an entrepreneur, a lot of people gravitate towards being entrepreneurs because you don't want to work the 9 to 5. So you become an entrepreneur so you can choose which 16 hours a day you work. Right?
Yeah.
And that's Natasha right now. She's been, she's momming, she's being a productive member of the household. And on top of that, she's doing all the work that entails her financial coaching. And on top of that, she's doing legal stuff. She's doing taxation. She's doing website. She's doing marketing copy. Like there are all these individual tasks and roles that she has to do as an entrepreneur. And then she has to make the decision, should I hire this out so somebody else does the work for me? That's, at some cost. And, it's this delicate balancing act between time and money, and it's difficult.
Absolutely. And again, now the young lady here I know is interested in entrepreneurship. She actually went to my entrepreneurship class, and I think she's got a pretty good grasp. She wants to get into cosmetology, and we got her question here in a second. And I think she's got a good grasp of wanting to do it the right way. So she's not just going to jump into it. She's going to get her license, learn the business, and kind of learn how a salon and everything works first before just, hey, I'm a cosmetologist, let me open it. Not a good fit. But I do have a few questions from the students. This first one is David Ford. He's a junior member of our football team and our bowling team, kind of an odd combo of sports there. But he asked, what was your biggest inspiration to start a podcast?
Personally, I think it was Natasha's dad. Her dad is a preacher. He has his own church. So we visit his dad, we visit Natasha's dad, and he holds his service. And at one service, he was talking about budgeting, and that's what the whole entire sermon was about. It was about budgeting. I was like, that's really strange. I'm Catholic, she's Baptist. And when I see this message, I'm like, I'd never hear this in the Catholic Church. I've never heard that message before in a church. And I thought it was so cool to just flippantly be mentioning this, and when you have the microphone, when you have the soapbox, right? And I thought that was extremely powerful, and it got us thinking. And, how can we do this same thing, like with the people that we can reach? So I think that was kind of the catalyst.
Yeah. And I think just knowing that so many people in America struggle with money, and then seeing how we have been able to get in a place where we feel set with it, is like, how can we sit on this information when all these other people need it? So for me, that was another part of that driving force of like, if we know it, we got to share with others. Like that's the type of people we are. We're not going to keep it to ourselves. We want to share with others so they can have good lives too.
Yeah, and it really is. And again, it's not that people are stupid. It's just that people aren't educated on it. And I just got some laughs on that. But again, I'm not, I've never insinuated that anybody's dumb. But if you're not told something, you're not going to be an expert at it. And
Yeah.
there really is a push for this, with us and with other areas and these rural areas that kind of get left behind.
Yeah, definitely.
It's definitely doable. This is Alexander Williams. He's a senior, and he asked, how do you fit in podcasting with all of your full-time jobs and side hustles?
We haven't. So the episode that you mentioned is already a month or two old.
Yeah.
And we've kind of fallen by the wayside. And that's, for a couple of reasons. One of them is because the thing that we just mentioned about Natasha starting her own business, she just doesn't have the time to dedicate towards that. And also switching jobs. So, I just lost a huge chunk of time. So we've kind of been slacking with our podcast.
But outside of that, I mean, we tend to do it late at night because we have kids. So once they go to bed, then we'll get on and re-record at that time. Recently, because of everything going on, we're just too tired to do it at that time. Or if we can steal a little time during the day, like during lunchtime or something, we'll do it. But I mean, it's just making it a priority. And because other stuff is taking a priority, you don't see us releasing things. And that's just fine with us. It's just prioritizing your time.
Yeah, and I think that goes for anything, because I know that at least the ones I haven't here, most of them have said they want to have a family after high school and college, and I don't, and the money thing you can figure out. The time thing is different for everybody. It really is a jigsaw puzzle and trial and error. This is Harmony Williams, the young lady I mentioned, interested in entrepreneurship. One of our dancers here, very talented dancer, wants to get into cosmetology. And she said, I'm about to graduate from high school. So as a young adult, where would be the best starting place for me to start financially?
Number one, especially because she wants to get into cosmetology, she knows she wants to start her own salon, is to reach out to the connections and pay attention to the connections that she's making, because there are salon owners out there that she can reach out to and start learning from already. There are business owners out there who she can ask, how do you manage your finances? What are asking them questions about their experience. And that's one of the things we think has been most important, is just like having the right people who can help you, because you're not going to know everything going into entrepreneurship, going into becoming an adult, period. So I would say that's one of the first places to start, is those connections. Would you add something else?
I was going to say that too, but I wanted to add on top of that. When you're in high school, when you're younger, your friends are kind of the people that are around you, in the same life circumstance as you. As you get older, you lose those connections, or those connections become more distant for whatever reason. People are moving here, people are moving there, and people are changing. And you'll have to keep that friend. You'll have to create your own friend group and keep it up. So how do you choose your friends? How do you choose your connections? You should choose the connections that can help you, and those that you can help as well. The people that you find that, like for Harmony, if she wants to start a salon, go seek out other people that have done this before, and they'll help you. They'll be friendly. They'll help you. And that's been one of the most impactful things in my career, in my journey, that I've discovered, which I didn't expect to have known, and nobody ever told me that.
And then the second thing, because she asked specifically about finances, a lot of things that I see is people using traditional bank accounts that charge them money in order to have a checking or a savings account, because as she's becoming an adult, she's going to need that for herself. So I would say look for a bank account that is free for you to use, that hopefully has a high yield savings account, so you can earn more money on that. Because in your traditional bank accounts, like Bank of America, they may charge you $8 a month to have that checking account. And then you're going to be earning 0.01%. So maybe you'll earn $1 if you have $1,000 in there. But if you can find a high yield savings account right now, those are paying out almost 5%. So if you got $1,000 in there, you can earn maybe $5 a month. So just on the financial side, looking into a bank account so you can be organized with your money. And then as a business owner, separating your personal finances from your business finances. So not having just one account, have one for your personal, one for your business, so things aren't all mixed up and you know what is what.
Yeah, she went through our entrepreneurship program. It was either last year or the year before. So I think she's got a pretty good idea of the steps it'll take. As bad a rap as Mississippi gets, we actually have a great community college program where you can get certified to be a cosmetologist in 13 months right out of high school. And then they'll help find you job placement. And then once you learn the business, you can go out on your own. So I think she's got a plan similar to that. So I think she'll do well. So now we're almost out of time. And as always, we appreciate you guys just taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, because I learn something every time you guys are with us. And it's just been a great relationship over the last few years. But before we go, you gave some good info there. But if nothing else, obviously, like we said, obviously everybody can't be a financial superstar. Everybody can't be is not going to be a podcaster talking about it. But it's like we said, this is the most important thing you're going to need to be familiar with as you build your career and build your family. So what are just the basic things that you think a high school student should need to know as they transition out of high school, no matter what their path is?
I would say number one, spend less than you make once you
I
start
knew that was
making
coming.
money.
Y'all always say that.
And then number two, because you're going to be funding this next part of your life, think about how you're going to fund it. So focus on, if you're going to college, scholarships, internships, work study, free money, basically. Go find the free money. Try to avoid the student loans and the credit cards. And if you're going to use a credit card, pay it off every month. So don't spend more than you can afford on that credit card. And then have a bank account, have a system. Don't just use Venmo and Cash App and all of that.
Oh my God. Yes. Thank you.
Get an actual bank account and get organized, and put something away to save and invest every single time you get paid. Even if it's $5, put something away every single time. And, look into maybe an index fund that tracks the S&P 500 or something that is likely to give you some of that return on your money. But I would say those are the main things.
And let me add on top of that, find a mentor. Find a mentor, somebody that has been where you want to be and can explain to you how to get there. That's going to save you so much effort in the long run. Somebody will open the door for you. They'll hold the door open for you. All you got to do is walk in. You have to do your job. You have to do the work and move through the door, but they'll keep the door open for you.
And you've introduced them to a lot of people who might be their future mentors. So, don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Yeah, all over the country. So it really, that's one of the benefits of COVID. We've been able to do things like this and connect with people literally at all corners of the globe. Now, also, before we go, tell us, blackandbrownmakegreen.com, moneywithconfidence.com.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. Great Instagram follows as well. Even if you're not putting your podcast out, you're at least getting some good info out. Just a 3 or 4 minute read every day. Really good stuff. And I enjoy reading it myself. So Natasha, Damian Carillo, all the way from Austin, Texas. Black and Brown Make Green. Thank you guys so much as always.
Thank you, Mr. Paget. Take care.
I see you guys.